Welcome to the Cup of Joe Show, the podcast where Senator Joe Cryan talks about the latest in New Jersey's 20th Legislative District. This week's guest, former State Senator Anthony Russo.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very special birthday edition of A Cup of Joe. We are very, very honored and thrilled today to have my friend, the very wonderful Anthony E. Russo. Anthony is a former Mayor of Union, a longtime New Jersey State Senator. He's a decorated public servant, and he's a true icon of the Township of Union and indeed the state of New Jersey. Anthony, by the way, currently serves, and he'll talk about this, I hope, still with the County of Union.
Yes.
Yes, and we're looking forward to that conversation as well. But Anthony, I need to say, as we record this, it's on a Monday, but there is a very big day coming up this Friday. And I believe this Friday, August the 8th, you will be celebrating your 99th birthday. Am I correct on that?
That's correct.
A very happy birthday to Anthony Russo. And today we're going to celebrate not only just a life well lived, but a celebration of your leadership, your longevity, and your legacy.
Thank you, Senator.
It's a thrill. So you were born when Coolidge was president.
1926.
How about that? Huh?
4 years before the Great Depression.
So Anthony, can we start there? Can you talk about it? Can you talk about your early life, where you grew up? I mean, we just chatted before we started here about first grade. Can you talk about that time for your life as to what you can recall?
I grew up in a Warren County community called Phillipsburg, an old town adjacent to the Delaware River. A good town, very good town, and an old town. It was primarily settled by a lot of Irish, Italian immigrants in the 1890s, 1900. And it was closely knit town. Nobody ever locked the door to their homes. Children were born. The lady down the street was a midwife. She delivered the child. Okay. The father of the child was his dentist. The doctor of the child was the child's mother. These were the Depression years between 1930 and 1940. The town got hit hard. It was primarily one big industrial giant in Phillipsburg called Ingersoll Rand. When the Depression, everybody worked there. When the Depression hit, Ingersoll virtually closed most of its stores, and people struggled. It caused character to develop in a community, and people dealt with adversity. They developed strength through the adversity. So it was educational. The kids were all poor, but they didn't know it, and they didn't care. They had the Delaware River nearby for swimming and fishing, and the woods nearby to go hunting with their father. And they hunted, not for the sport, for the food. For food, it was bad. It was bad. I can remember as a kid in the fifth grade, the teacher pleading with us, children, when you go home, ask your father, please, to call the mayor and ask the mayor to pay us. We haven't been paid in 2 months. They weren't paid because people weren't paying taxes. People weren't paying taxes. They had no income. But those things prevailed. I remember as a child, a common knock on the door. Little boy, ask your mother, please, if she make me a sandwich I haven't eaten in 3 days. And I also remember, Senator, the railroads used to come down from the Pennsylvania coal mines, moving very slowly as they went through the town. And it was easy to get on top of one of the coal cars. They all had metal ladders on the side. Down the street from where I resided was a family from Poland, mother and father, immigrants, and 2 young children. One was 12, one was 13. Cold winter morning. The one son used to go in the railroad, climb up the car, scoop the coal, put it in a bag, drop it, and his other brother would tie the string, put it on his shoulder and go home, and the parents had to eat that day. This cold morning in February 1933, the boy was on top of the railroad, 13, 14 years old, filling the bag full of coal. A railroad detective spotted him. He came out of the engine. He jumped up on top of another wagon of coal, pulled out the rifle, bang, got him right between the eyes. That family did not get a bag of coal that day. They got a bag with their son in it. But those were the Depression years, and those years prevailed all over. But our town of Phillipsburg got hit hard, very, very hard.
Now, your family grew up there. You tell the story of the difficulties.
Yeah, my grandfather came from Italy in 1898 with 3 young kids. One was 6 months old, one was 2 years old, one was 3. He settled in Little Italy off Canal Street in New York City. And that's the basis where the mob started, the New York mob. They were born, I guess, and raised in that part of the city. My grandfather didn't like what he saw. He picks up and he moves up to a house adjacent to the campus of Fordham University. He was working for a company called Ingersoll Rand in New York City. They made an announcement that they were moving to a country place way off on the other side of New Jersey called Phillipsburg. Anybody who wants to join us can join us. My grandfather packs up, takes his wife, my grandmother, and the 3 sons, and bought a home in Phillipsburg for $12,000. And it was 1910. And he was happy. And that's where he raised his 3 kids, and that's where the 3 kids raised their kids, including me.
Were you in the same house, or?
No, he had 3 sons.
Right.
He bought 3 attached houses.
Okay.
Yeah, I still own the home I was born in.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah. I would never sell it. Too many nice memories there.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And I also owned the home next door, attached home, that my Swedish mother raised me in.
All right, now tell us the story about your Swedish mother.
My father died January 1930, leaving me 3 years old, a sister 6, a brother 5, and a brother at 6 months old. My mother went into deep depression. That was the beginning. 40 years of deep depression. My Swedish aunt, who was childless, she lived next door. She told my mother, I'll take your 2 babies, me and the little boy, 6 months old. And we lived with her and my uncle, that was my father's kid brother, in an attached house, but right next door. So, as I'm growing up, in the backyard, if I said, Mom, 2 of them turned their heads. They were both Mom. And that's the way it was all through life. Oh, 2 mothers.
Okay.
And 2 wonderful mothers.
I have to ask you, could you tell everybody, it's just such a wonderful story about first grade. Can you tell that story about your first day at first grade?
The first day of school, my mother, my biological mother, for me to go to school, we had to walk 1, 2 blocks, 3 blocks. And my biological mother had me by the left hand, my Swedish mother had me by the right hand. And they both took me to that class. And I remember how they dressed me. I remember the clothes they had on me.
Do you really?
Yeah, it was a happy day. It's a happy day. So I had a good childhood.
So you grew up in Phillipsburg, but eventually along the way, can you tell us about how it worked out that you, and I might ask your family, your brother came here as well, and others. Can you talk about how the transition happened to Union, New Jersey, or how
I came to Union? Yes. There were, at that point, about 8 or 9 lawyers in Phillipsburg, all neighbors right down the street, including one who became governor, Bob Miner. And I convinced myself, if I want to develop a law practice, I should go to another town. There are too many lawyers there. Too many lawyers. So weekends, I'd get a hold of my kid brother to keep me company, and we would drive to Atlantic City, Teaneck, New Jersey, Somerville, looking at offices. In the Newark Evening News, I saw an ad. Office for rent, good for a young lawyer, was in Morristown, rent cheap. I called my brother, go with me. We're going to take a ride to Morristown. It was a Friday night, and Friday nights in Union were shopping nights, busy, very busy with people. I came to a light. I came off Highway 22, Vauxhall Road to Stuyvesant Avenue. The light was red. The town looked so nice. I rolled down the window and asked the cop on the corner, officer, what's the name of this town? He says, Mister, you're in Union, New Jersey. I looked at my brother. You ever hear of this town? No, never did. Parked the car, Senator. Walked down the street, saw a sign in a window above 969 Stuyvesant Avenue. office for rent, called Tuscan Dairy. Next day, I signed the lease on a Saturday for $65 a month.
$65 a month.
Yeah, Tuscan Dairy was my landlord. Yeah, and I look back, I was crazy in doing what I did, because as a lawyer, when a person's going to practice law, he depends on his friends from high school, from growing up in the streets. I didn't know a soul, not one soul. And I had no secretary, I had no money, and I didn't know how to type. So in the paper I saw an ad, typewriter for sale, $20, used typewriter. I bought it. I managed it $20, but I still didn't know how to type. One finger like this, and it went like that for 5 years. 5 years. But I was able to afford a secretary then at $50 a week.
How about that?
And that secretary became my sister-in-law. Yeah. Really? But they were good years. They were good years. I met a lot of nice people, a lot of good people. I met the nice mayor of Union, and I learned that he was there for a lifetime. He was elected. His name was Beer Temple. He was elected to office in 1929. 1939, he became the mayor, and he served as mayor up until the time of his death, 1973. But he ran a good town. It was a very good town. It had good government, and we still have good government all through the years. We're well located. It's well known. We had a lot of good people that came out of Union, including professional people. We had Elliot Maddox. He played with the New York Yankees. We had Bob Mishak. He played football with the Giants. Joe Collins, first baseman with the New York Yankees. Larry Cuban played with 2 Super Bowls with the Washington Redskins. Yes. And we had a couple of boys that made it to the minor leagues, but not the big leagues. Then, of course, the guy who put us on a map, really, was a boy who grew up across the street from me, Ray Liotta. In the early years, I was his lawyer. I represented his family, his parents, grandparents. Yeah, good boy he was, good kid. Good kid. But, and the final result was just wonderful, and I followed his progress. This is interesting what I'm going to tell you. In April, and I don't remember the year, I live on a little quiet, dead-end street. Yes, and all the conversations are in the middle of the street. I was talking to his father. Al, what's the matter? You look all upset. I am upset. I just came back from the post office, and I sent Raymond a strong letter. I told him, Raymond, this is the last check you'll receive from your father. After 5 years, you come home and get a job. This was in April. He says, this check will hold you to June, and you come home and get a job. And he was lucky. He got a little bit part as a bartender in a weekly. It didn't last, but it gave him enough money to survive for a couple more months. And then after that came a lot of good movies. Corina, Something Wild, Field of Dreams, Unlawful Entry, a bunch of them. Big one, Goodfellas. That made him. He's known all over the country. No matter where I go, and I mention you and I mention him. Oh yeah, they all knew Goodfellas. That was a great movie. Yes. They say that was the second best mobster movie ever made. Of course, the best one, Godfather. Mm. This was right behind it.
Ray Liotta is a real.
He was still living in Union when he made it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. He made it in Brooklyn. He used to leave the house 7 o'clock in the morning, and then 8 o'clock he'd be coming home. And he stayed. He made a lot of them still living in Union. Yeah. And he was close to his parents. Very, very. They adopted him when he was a couple of months old. Very close. In fact, when his mother was dying of cancer, he was in big time at that point. He'd come home every night to take her for a walk, hand in hand, around the block. Very close. Very, very close. Good family.
And his father also served our community as well, did he not?
Yeah, his father served the county or the welfare. I think he was in he ran the personnel department. And he ran for local government. He didn't make it. And I think he once ran for sheriff. But his mom ran with me, and she became the township clerk for about 3 or 4 years.
And in those days, the clerk in the town of Union was elected.
Yeah.
Right. So
she and I ran together.
Okay. I want to ask you a little more about that, but I really want to talk about a little bit more about, if you don't mind, where'd you go to law school?
Rutgers, Newark.
Okay. And what made you decide as a kid from Phillipsburg to go to Rutgers, Newark?
Why I went to Rutgers?
Yeah.
It was the closest law school. It was an hour and a half from Phillipsburg in Newark. And I rented a room in a YMCA for $4 a week. It suited me fine. And I could pick up the bus and go back home to Phillipsburg weekends, which I did every Friday night back home.
Taking Route 22.
Pardon?
Taking Route 22. Was the Parkway there yet?
Parkway came into Union around that time, 1953.
Okay.
That's when everything started to change. In 1953, and when I arrived in Union, Battle Hill was a golf course.
Yes.
A golf course. Kane University was full of cows, cow pasture. Kane was in Newark. It was a Newark State Teachers College. They came to Union in 1958 with a couple hundred students and a couple of little buildings.
Yeah.
And they've grown tremendously. Well, we all see it's a major university now.
It's the fourth largest in the state?
Yeah. Morris Avenue was full of vacant lots. The municipal building that came in later, that came in 1955.
Okay.
55. The municipal building was on the corner. There was a drugstore called Harborough Drugs. Then it became a beauty parlor. Now it's for rent. On the corner of Stuyvesant and Morris. Upstairs was the town clerk and the meeting hall. And the mayor's office. The rest of the town hall was down by the cannon. There was a building across the street called a community center.
Okay.
That housed the library, plumbing inspector, building inspector, health department. They were all there except the township clerk. The clerk was in that corner.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's when Mayor Beer Temple decided to construct the building. They had it constructed.
And that's how Town Hall was built.
Yeah.
So in those days, Anthony, just to put it in perspective, so anybody, for example, Liberty Avenue near Battle Hill, Rahway Avenue, that whole area was a golf course.
Yep.
Right? 18-hole golf course?
Yeah, I'm not sure it was 18 or 9, but we had the golf course. They were just going to bring it to a close when I came to Union.
Okay. And was Farcher's Grove there?
Yes.
Okay. And then when they brought that to a close, who built all those homes? Was that the Wilfs? Who built the homes that ultimately, all those?
I'm not sure. The Wilfs ever built everything on Salem Road, Salem Ridge, that area back there, Colonial Arms Road. All of those streets were Wilf.
Okay.
You got a bunch of houses up there. Battle Hill, I don't think it was Wilf.
Okay. So the Wilf family did a lot of developing here in Union.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, Audrey Terrace, Allen Terrace, that area back there.
Sure.
And everything I just described to you.
And just as a reminder to folks, that's the same family that today owns
the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay, and what professional football team do you follow?
He bought that team for $610 million. Now the value is over $2 billion. About 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I remember when he did it. That's Ziggy Wilf. He grew up in Hillside, right near the Union borderline. He lived and grew up across the street from Phil Rizzuto, right across the street.
Okay.
Two celebrities down that street. Well, of course, he wasn't a celebrity in those days. He was the son of a nice builder, Joe Wilf.
That's right. So let me transition the conversation a little bit. So you mentioned Beer Temple. So you're here, you've got this great story about, hey, what town are we in? And you've now invested in a $65 a month lease, right? In a lease, and you've bought a typewriter. Okay, and now you're building your career here in Union. So what moved you to public service? What moved you to politics? And what made you a Democrat? Wasn't Beer Temple at the time mostly Republican?
I became a Democrat because of our family lawyer in Phillipsburg, Robert B. Miner. And out of law school, I had a clerk. I was clerking in Newark. But the requirement was I needed a lawyer to approve me during this period of time. He was like a clerkship. And it was they assigned me to Robert Miner. And I had to report to him once a month. It was in 1953. I was reporting to him. He says, I just got a call. They want me to run for governor. In those days, it was almost hopeless because he was a Democrat.
Right.
He's like a volunteer to say yes. And he said, yes, they go. He said, you got to help me with the state. He knew at that point I'm going to settle in Union. It was on my papers, going to settle. He said, you got to help me down there in Union. I said, I don't know a soul. He said, there's a man on the corner. He's the town attorney. Go see him. His name is Gustav Kine. He and I went to Lafayette College together. You ask him what you can do. And then he sent me to see somebody else by the name of Mildred Barry Hughes. She became a senator.
Yeah.
Yes, they were the party leaders. And I did. And I got in trouble after that. I got in trouble because I didn't know this was a big Republican town. And now word is out about that young lawyer down the street. He's a Democrat. And I ran into some political problems. But it all worked out. It all worked out.
So what made you run for office here locally after?
What happened? I had a close friend of mine. I developed a relationship with a man by the name of John Zimmerman. John Zimmerman was an active fellow in Union, especially with the Knights of Columbus, and he was a good person. Then he wants to start a boys club, and he's got a circle of friends that want to help in a small way. And it was a piece of land involved where the boys club now stands on Commerce Street. Jeanette, rather. And he had a deal with Mayor Bertram. At that point, the mayor's good man, but he didn't want a boys club. He said, we don't need it in Newark. Union, you need it in the cities. Jersey City, Newark, don't bring it to Union. So now there's conflict there and a little misunderstanding. They're not getting along. So John's got his following, and they plead with me. They're looking for somebody to run against the Republican Party. I wasn't interested. They begged me, convinced me. I will. And I ran against a man, nice man. His name was Coleman Kiss. He was there for about 20 years. And it was a close election, but I lost. In those days, the Democrats lost to the Republicans locally by 6,000, 7,000. The Democrats used to volunteer to run. They knew it was hopeless. Oh, I lost by 400. So everybody's from this group of people who wanted me to run, they're all happy. They feel good about this, like a moral victory. And that was the beginning. Then they convinced me to run again, and second time, I hook up with a nice man I went to school with by the name of Jim Conlon. And we won. We won by, I don't know, remember, not a big margin, 500, 600, 700 votes.
And this is in the early 1960s?
Our election victory was in 1961.
Okay.
Yeah, 1960, I lost. 61, I won. Then I won several of them after that.
And so when did you become mayor?
1974.
Okay. Our form of government, just as a reminder to our listeners, is a township committee form of government where the mayor is selected from the other members. And it has been that way since...
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. So the members of the governing body selected you in 1974 to be mayor.
Right.
And you were mayor quite a few years?
Yeah, it was a total of 10. I was mayor, then I went to the Senate. Then they asked me to come back again, and I came back and served 10 years altogether. 10 good years.
Tell me about being mayor. How did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it. Why? It gave me the opportunity to help people and do nice things for people. And that's the greatest enjoyment in the world. Make people happy. Doing little things that make people happy in a big way, no matter what it is. And I enjoyed it, and I still enjoy that. I bother you once in a while.
No, you might mention a few things.
And you deliver for us.
So tell me about what you've seen as the changes, or what do you think from your initial time as mayor?
I've seen change. Yes, I've seen a lot of changes. I don't see the empty lots anymore. I don't see the empty fields anymore. They're all gone.
The cows are gone.
Yeah, what happened in Union after World War II? The federal government put through the bill for helps veterans, free college education, down payment on new houses, and that sort of thing. Big influx from the Italian area up north called Down Neck. Those GIs were coming home, getting married and having children. They wanted to get out of the city. They wanted a little bit of the suburb. First stop was Union. They came to Union. That was in the late 50s and through the 60s. Then came the Jewish people from Weequahic. They came here 70s and early 80s. They were followed in the 80s by the Jewish people, the Irish people that came from the Seton Hall area.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they were started coming from all over. But when I came here, it was a German community, all German people. The whole governing body was German. The tax collector was German. The tax assessor was German. Librarian was German. Health officer was German. The chief of police, he was born in Germany. He was a chief. His name was Dink. He had a younger brother who was chief of the fire department. So we had the two Dinks. But the town was German. And we had a lot of small machine shops strewn all over the community, all German-owned. These were German adults who came to this country. They didn't come as children.
Right.
They were in their teens, early 20s. They settled in Union and gave us all of these little German machine shops and German butcher stores, which we miss today.
Yeah,
They were so good.
Lutz's, for example.
Oh, yeah, Lutz was one. Geyser was one.
Geyser.
Muller was one.
Sure.
Yeah.
And by the way, in those days, the Union Theater, correct me if I'm wrong, showed German
Pardon?
movies. The Union Theater in those days, I think, showed German movies, did they
Yeah.
not? Of course.
And not only German movies. That was our church in the 50s, early 50s. Holy St. Michael's had Mass there
Oh, really?
Sunday. Holy Spirit did not exist. We had Mass at Kiwami every Sunday.
Okay.
Holy Spirit broke ground 1962. 1962.
Huh.
Yeah.
How about that? And then just going back a little bit on, so, and then the town in those days had the Hofbrau, it had Farcher's Grove, and it had a lot of German influence.
That was big for the German people, Farcher's Grove.
Sure. Yeah. And then today, as things transition, it's a more, is it fair to say that the prime geography location of Union has contributed to its growth?
Oh, absolutely. People left the big city, but they didn't want to go completely. They wanted a home out here, but they did all other big shopping in Newark. They visited their doctors and dentists in Newark.
Right.
Everything was in Newark.
True.
This was just the residents out here. Yeah. And Union started to develop in the 50s as a shopping center for local people from Friday nights and Monday nights.
How about that?
But Newark was still important in everybody's life.
So, Anthony, among the many titles you've had besides mayor and town committee, is you were a state senator. And can you talk about that a little bit as well?
Yeah, I enjoy that very, very much. I think the election was 78. I ran against a wonderful human being. His name was Frank McDermott. Frank had many years in the Senate, and he served as president of the state Senate, and he ran for governor. He's a likable guy, and he
real nice
big,
man.
Productive law office, had a very good law office. Nice guy. But he didn't work too hard on the campaign. And I gave up my life. I was out there every day, every morning, every night, Saturdays, Sundays, holiday. And I worked. That extra effort is what produced it. But I beat a nice man. Nice man.
And what did you enjoy? Or you talk about the things you did in the Senate a little bit?
Pardon?
Can you talk about the things you did in the Senate a little bit? What happened during your tenure there?
Yeah, what kind of bills did I introduce? I did a lot of work, I remember, on trying to reform the grand jury system.
Right.
Some of the bills were signed by Brendan Byrne. Some of them he couldn't sign. He says I'd have problems if I signed them. There were 12 of them, a package of 12 that I signed.
Okay.
And there were other bills dealing with people, dealing with senior citizens who couldn't pay their taxes, giving them the break if they weren't under a certain amount of money. And then eventually that became law.
Right.
Yeah. But it was, you understand it, the enjoyable years, the fun out of helping people. It's the greatest place in the world.
You get to do good
as a state
things.
senator.
You get
Pick
to
up
do
the phone, make a call, fulfill that an obligation of some sort, and let that person go home, peace of mind. He got help from the senator.
It is. It's a very rewarding part of the job.
So rewarding.
Okay.
But it's government, politics.
But speaking about rewarding in government, now you've had a career that your first elective office you ran for was in 1961. But even today, Anthony, right, as we talked about your successful tenure on the town committee and being the mayor and being a state senator, you also continue to serve our county today. And in fact, you serve some of the folks that I would argue may need it the most. Can you talk about the position of county adjuster and what it is?
I hold two titles in the county. One is assistant county attorney, and the other one is Union County adjuster. As Union County adjuster, as all adjusters, we're connected to the people who are mentally sick. Everyone who's got a mental problem, it could be examined and committed. And when he's committed to one of the state institutions, then we have court hearings. He's not locked up for life. He used to be at one point.
Right.
Now he's entitled to a court hearing. At the court hearing appears the judge, the doctor who examines the person, the public defender who defends him, and I represent Union County as the prosecutor. And we hear all of the testimony, and then the judge makes a decision. Either discharge him or her, or continue the commitment in the institution. And if it's going to be continued, then the judge fixes a date for the next hearing, usually 2-3 months away. And we also make a determination with the approval of the court as to that person's payment plan. If he has any money, then he's got to reimburse the state. Or if he's got insurance, they reimburse the state.
Okay.
If he's penniless, as most of them are, then the state assumes the cost. Most of the cost, a little bit from the county. Those are the functions of the county adjuster.
And do you
And
find
we deal with a family. They keep calling with questions.
do you find that the care and mental health has improved?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
That's
Very much so.
so. This diverse and long career that you've had has been remarkable. And as our time here comes to a close a little bit, I just wanted to ask you a little bit more about your family, if that's okay.
Sure.
Your brother served here in many roles and, frankly, was a legend here in the town of Union. I was hopeful maybe you could talk about Arthur for a moment and then maybe a little bit about Wayne.
As a result of the early death of my father, my mother and her 4 children were glued together. My brother Arthur was 6 years old. My father died at an early age, assumes control of the family. And that's the way it was all through life. He made decisions that a father would make. And during World War II, what he did, I tell you this because he was unique. World War II, he signs up for the Air Force because the Air Force got 10% more than regular Army personnel. That 10% more helped the amount of money that the government was taking from him to send home to my mother. And that's what he did. Now, he shot down over Borneo during the war. He was an aerial gunner, flying 80 feet off the ground. Everybody in the plane got hit, everybody. They crash-landed on a remote island in the South Pacific, and they radioed for help, but it took them to a field hospital on one of the islands. From there, he goes to Fort Devens, Massachusetts for further treatment. He was shot, his whole body, his legs, his hands, his arms, his back. The war just came to an end. It's 1945. I make application at Lafayette College for enrollment. Why Lafayette? Because across the river from Phillipsburg. I didn't have to worry about room and board. All I needed was tuition money. I didn't have it. It was $130. My brother's in a hospital. A couple of days later, big thick envelope comes, all $5 bills. My brother, he borrowed it from other patients. 6 months later, Senator, same thing, big fat envelope. He paid my tuition from the hospital bed. Wow. That was my brother. Now the war is over. He's back with my family. My family now is moving. They're back in New York. I stayed in Phillipsburg with my Swedish mother. I didn't want to leave at that point because I'm for 13, 14 years old in high school. I wanted to stay. I stayed. So it's my two brothers, my mother, and my sister in New York. My brother, to help my sister, to help the family, Joe, he worked for the federal government, Veterans Administration, from 9 o'clock until 4. From 4 o'clock to 7, he worked at Crawford Clothes, a men's clothing store. From 7 until 9, he worked for the New York Public Library. He got home to eat dinner every night, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, to help the family. Never stopped. Never stopped. I become a lawyer here. No money, nothing. I had no money. He gave me money every week. He and my other brother, two brothers, they paid for the little apartment I had on Self-Master Parkway. They paid $65 a month rent. They did it.
You were all in it together.
Yeah.
And you raised your family here too, right? Your sons and your wife, and you raised a family here.
Yeah, they loved it. My wife fell in love with you, and she loved it so much. Great memory for my 3 kids. They all loved it growing up here. They still keep coming back. Yeah.
A lifetime of giving back.
If I had to live it all over again, Senator, right here, Union, I enjoyed it.
I think that's a great way to close.
Yeah.
We have had today a very, very special cup of Joe with a Union icon, a legend, and a man I admire just so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been my privilege, and I hope you've enjoyed our podcast with Anthony Russo. And Anthony, on behalf of all of us, happy birthday.
Thank you, Matt. You make one comment?
Sure.
All my experience with the state Senate, all through the years, I judged and analyzed the behavior, the integrity of all of them. You're number one, Senator. You're the best we've ever had in Trenton. Thank you.
You're very kind. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time for A Cup of Joe.
That's a wrap on this episode of A Cup of Joe, hosted by Senator Joseph Cryan. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you again for another cup.